Doug, so I wanted to talk about television and the opportunities to really understand more deeply consumer consumption around linear and these new emerging platforms. What's new? What's valuable to you?
You know, it's interesting, we've been talking about sort of the unspoken truth of linear television, and we're still huge preponderance of linear. Ad spending continues to increase in linear, but in general, it's increasing across all video platforms. And I think, you know, we talk about the power of and. It's not about replacing one for the other, it's about the complementary opportunity between them. And so we've always known that linear television tends to skew a little bit older, tends to skew towards the heaviest viewing quintiles. And now we actually have the ability to systematically look at that, you know, in a very detailed way. And what we're seeing across dozens and dozens of campaigns is that generally 80% of the total impressions delivered in linear television is going to about 25% of households. So that's pretty significant if you're trying to reach a very large audience, and also you're generally driving about 3 times the average frequency, so massive excessive frequency that's inherent, you know, in the system. So we're looking at things like addressable TV, OTT, other advanced TV platforms to essentially help us mitigate that, to rebalance the delivery, to help clients achieve more reach, more even distribution of impressions for the same amount of money. So effectively getting more value for the same dollars by including multiple platforms in their overall approach to video.
How might that change the equation for the upfront?
I think you know, changing the equation for the upfront in the sense that, you know, we are looking for ways to identify audiences and where we can reach those audiences. So I think it's you know, we're seeing a lot of innovation with some of the traditional media owners where they're looking much more at their advanced platforms and how they can actually potentially hold inventory in premium marketplaces so that we can actually target those audiences. And ideally what I'd like to be able to see is cross-measurement between the linear delivery and the addressable or the advanced delivery, so we can start to see how the complementary capabilities of those are coming together. And we're doing things, Xandr is a great example of a company that's actually enabling us to be able to look at those and be able to rationalize shifts in spending across different platforms to create a greater whole.
So data is a big conversation here in terms of deterministic data, in terms of leveraging the data of first party of your clients. What's going on, what's important, and also kind of how do we steer through this sort of post-cookie world? The whole notion of data and identity is really changing. What's important? What's your direction around that?
So I think that the data race is on, and the people-based marketing race is on. And you know, this industry has spent quite a bit of money acquiring data platforms and data assets. There's an interesting article that came out, I think it was this morning, from Forrester, sort of citing the fact that we've made all these investments, but our clients really getting the most value out of them. And I think that's just at the infancy of where we are going to be going. As we start to mature more, we'll demonstrate that value, and that will be much more integrated across everything that we do. We think have a bit of a head start because we've had about 2 years of working with M1, which we acquired through Merkle, to really be able to leverage first-party data, PII-based individual real people data, where we can take a client's first-party data, CRM database, or even their first-party digital data, if that's what they have. But importantly, not just use that as the means of connecting with consumers, but commingling that with the data that we have to enhance what they know about their customers, create more robust audience segments and targets, creating propensity models or lookalike models, and then using that audience to be able to engage with different media owners and different dynamic content providers to create more personalization. And we're seeing huge increases in the effectiveness when we leverage first-party data, we integrate that, enhance it with other data sets, and then use advanced analytics to create a propensity model. We're seeing 3 to 10x increases in some of the key purchase indicators.
Propensity is very important. What are you looking for, and how do you activate that?
So we've got over 10,000 different attributes, about 1,000 attributes for every single individual over the age of 18 in the US. So When you bring a client's first-party data in, there are certain attributes that identify that individual, and they may not have access to all those attributes, whether those are gender or income or ethnicity or geographic location or passion points or other types of data sets. Again, with 1,000 different attributes, what we can start to understand is what are the attributes that are most definitive of that first-party data set. How do we then use those attributes to predict future propensity, because we're looking for others that have those attributes. And that's very important then for us to be able to start to look at conquesting audiences, suppressing current audiences that the client might already have a relationship with. And by doing that sophisticated level of audience analysis, we're able to move beyond just an audience that we would buy off the shelf from a third-party data supplier. But it's also helping us to mitigate risk against a cookieless world because, again, we're operating in that first-party data environment.